Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the show that tries to, cut through all the noise.
Get right to the heart of things.
Exactly. And today, well, the world of self-help, life coaching. It's huge. So many gurus, so much advice.
It's hard to know who's offering real insight and who's just, well, loud.
And sometimes the really popular ones, they're the ones with the most questions swirling around them.
Which brings us to today's topic.
Yes, we are diving into Mel Robbins, a really multifaceted public figure.
And for this deep dive, we've got a couple of key sources. First, there's a Reddit thread. It's titled, Mel Robbins, What's the Real Story? From the Our Life Coach Snark subreddit.
So you can guess the tone might be a little critical.
Just a bit. And we're balancing that with info straight from her own website, specifically about the high five habit.
Okay, so what's our mission here?
Well, we want to navigate all these different claims, the stories people tell, the criticisms, everything around Mel Robbins.
Her big concepts too, right? The 5-second rule, high five habit, and that newer one, the let them theory.
Exactly. And her own personal story, which seems to be part of the package. We'll look at the good stuff, the enthusiasm, but also the skepticism.
So you can get a really full picture, basically. Make up your own mind.
That's the goal.
All right, let's get into it. When I first started looking into Mel Robbins, I was intrigued. Her style. Sometimes it felt a bit like NLP, neuro-linguistic programming.
Yeah, those techniques that can be very persuasive in how they frame problems and solutions for people. Some find it helpful, others maybe manipulative.
Right, but digging deeper, what really stood out were these, contradictory backstories.
Okay, like what?
Well, the big one is the financial struggle narrative. Around 2008, she and her husband were supposedly $800,000 in debt. Massive debt.
And the story goes she turned it all around with her 5-second rule.
Exactly. But then we found this Boston Magazine article. It's from 2007. That's before the supposed debt crisis hit rock bottom.
Oh, interesting timing. What did it say?
It painted a very different picture. Called her a fame-thirsty egomaniac, crass, narcissistic life coach. Pretty harsh.
Wow. Okay. No mincing words there.
Not at all. And it said she was already landing book and radio deals back then, had a show on Borders. So the whole broke and desperate angle from 2008, it feels a bit off, doesn't it?
It definitely complicates the timeline. That contrast is, well, it's quite stark. And it speaks volumes about crafting a public narrative, doesn't it?
How so?
Well, think about it. That 2007 article shows someone ambitious already climbing. The later debt story, though, that's incredibly relatable for a mass audience.
Right. It makes her seem like she's been there. She gets the struggle.
Precisely. It builds trust. It makes her advice feel earned, more authentic maybe. It's a powerful story arc, that debt to dignity thing, whether it's the full picture or not. That's the question.
And it wasn't just the debt story. That same 2007 article, you mentioned her husband, said he was a commodities trader who started a restaurant. Stonehearth Pizza, I think.
Okay.
But then a Reddit user pointed to a more recent interview where he's called a software developer sales guy. Different.
Small detail, maybe, but still, another inconsistency.
Yeah. And even high school stuff. One place says she was voted most likely to succeed. Another says teacher's pet. Minor, sure. But it adds to this feeling of curated details.
And that curation, it's often about targeting,
Yeah.
Who are you trying to reach? What image resonates? Maybe commodities trader sounded a bit too high finance, less relatable than software sales.
Could he?
These shifts, whether they're intentional spin or just how memory works over time, they force us as the audience to think. How much does the messenger's personal story matter for the message itself?
That's a really good point. Do we trust the tool because the person selling it has a great story, or because the tool actually works for us?
Exactly. Which kind of brings us to the tools themselves.
Right. Let's talk the 5-second rule. Probably her most famous one.
Super simple concept.
Yeah. Just count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And then you just do the thing you're hesitating on. Move. Act.
It's pitched as a way to break inertia, stop overthinking, interrupt that procrastination loop.
And for lots of people, it clearly resonates. It's immediate. It's actionable.
But that Reddit thread, not everyone was a fan.
Oh, not at all. Lots of people called it simplistic, stupid, ridiculous, were words thrown around.
Yeah, I saw the comment takes 5 seconds to explain. She wrote a whole book.
Right. And some said it's just like an old trick parents use with kids, like a kid's tale.
Did anyone find it useful at all?
Some did, yeah. But mostly for small stuff. Like one person said it helped them get from their beach towel into the cold water. Minor anxieties.
Okay, so good for nudging yourself on small hurdles.
But most agreed for the big stuff. Deep-rooted issues, serious anxiety, depression. Nah, not really effective.
And that really gets at a core tension in self-help, doesn't it? The appeal of the quick fix versus the reality that deep change often needs, well, deeper work.
Definitely.
These simple tools, like the 5-second rule or the high five habit we'll get to, they can function a bit like cognitive reframing techniques, borrowing from things like CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy, changing thought patterns quickly.
So the high five habit, what's the deal there?
Also very simple. The core action is literally giving yourself a high five in the mirror.
Okay.
Her website pitches it as this simple yet profound tool. Claims it changes your attitude, mindset, behavior, boosts confidence, happiness, all apparently using science-backed wisdom.
Science-backed wisdom. Big claim for a high five.
It is. But here's the thing. You see comments like that one on Reddit.
Oh, yeah, I saw that one. Someone said it was revolutionary for them. They were in a really bad place, hating themselves.
And the high five habit helped them start believing they didn't have to hate themselves. It was a starting point.
That's actually quite powerful, isn't it, for something so simple?
It really is. It shows how sometimes a small ritual, a moment of self-acknowledgement can make a difference. Psychologically, it can create a tiny bit of agency, interrupt negative self-talk.
So it can work, at least for some people, as a starting block.
Absolutely. Now, is it groundbreaking science she discovered? Or is it more like a clever repackaging of basic psychological principles like self-affirmation? That's the debate.
Makes sense. Simple can be powerful, but maybe not always profound or original science.
Right. Transformative for one person, maybe superficial to another. Depends on where you're starting from and what you need.
Okay, so let's shift gears to the big one, the recent one, the let them theory. This seems to be where a lot of the current heat is.
Oh, for sure. It's definitely stirred things up.
So the basic idea, as she puts it, is if you just let them do whatever they're going to do, it gives you more peace and control and better relationships.
Yeah, that's the gist. She does add a caveat, the let me part, focusing on what you can control and do for yourself in this situation.
Okay, sounds potentially reasonable on the surface, like a form of detachment.
Maybe, but the execution and the origins, that's where the problems start. Big time.
The plagiarism accusation.
Exactly. Widely accused of stealing or at the very least not crediting Cassie Phillips.
Right, Cassie Phillips wrote that Let Them poem that went absolutely viral back in 2022.
Way before Mel Robbins started talking about it publicly or announced her book, which isn't even out till December 2024, apparently.
And didn't she try to trademark the phrase let them?
That was another point of contention, yeah. Trying to own a phrase that was already circulating widely thanks to someone else's viral work, it didn't look good.
No. And the origin story she tells about learning it from her daughter at her son's prom, that got picked apart too, didn't it?
It did. People found social media posts where Mel mentioned she'd just heard about the theory, like the day before the supposed prom date she uses in her story.
So her claim of doing 2 years of research for the book suddenly looks shaky.
Very shaky. It casts doubt on the whole narrative she built around discovering this concept.
Wow. Okay, so origin story issues, plagiarism claims. What about the theory itself compared to other approaches?
Well, that's where the comparison to someone like Brené Brown comes in. It's a stark contrast.
How so? Brené Brown's work is all about vulnerability, connection, shame, resilience.
Right, and it's grounded in decades of actual qualitative research. She emphasizes leaning into connection, understanding shame.
Whereas let them, critics say it does the opposite.
Many argue it promotes disconnect, that it can even enable bad behavior if you just let people act terribly without addressing it. It lacks nuance about accountability.
And there was that quote someone pulled, Mel apparently shaming people.
Yeah, the Reddit user quoted her saying things like, "You are the one to blame because you are choosing to stay in a job that makes you miserable, that's on you," and blaming people for their dumb excuses.
Oof, that sounds
Ugh.
harsh. And kind of the opposite of Brené Brown's focus on empathy and systemic factors.
Exactly. Critics see it as shaming, lacking compassion, and ignoring context. And it ties back to qualifications, too. Robbins has a law degree, right?
Yeah, she's a lawyer.
But not a therapist, not a researcher in psychology. Critics say her work often just simplifies and repackages things like cognitive behavioral techniques, but isn't based on original research or deep clinical understanding.
Gotcha. And the privilege aspect, that came up a lot with let them.
Huge criticism, people calling it horrible privilege, completely out of touch.
The idea being it's easy to say, let them fire you or let them ignore you when you're financially secure.
Precisely. The comment, easy to say when you don't need work shifts to pay the rent, sums it up. It ignores real-world power dynamics, systemic barriers, socioeconomic realities.
And the victim-blamey accusations.
Yes, that too. That it's not trauma-aware. For someone in an abusive situation, just letting them continue could be dangerous advice.
Right. And some compared it unfavorably to older philosophies.
Like Buddhism, yeah. Which talks about non-attachment too, but within a much larger framework of compassion, self-reflection, ethics, accountability. The critique is that let them, as presented by Robbins, can feel shallow or incomplete by comparison.
So it potentially strips away crucial context and ethical considerations.
That's the argument. Simplified advice might feel good initially, but without considering context, power dynamics, vulnerability, it can fall short or even be harmful. Placing blame squarely on individuals without acknowledging bigger forces can feel invalidating.
Okay, so beyond the specific tools and theories, there are broader criticisms about her, just as a person, her personality.
Yeah, the Reddit thread had some really visceral descriptions, things like eye-gouging cringe.
Wow. Others said unhappy, tense, angry, miserable, even dead eyes, and having an aggressive delivery.
And that 2007 Boston Magazine piece again. It had some vivid descriptions, too.
Oh, right. The bit about her joking about pantomiming a crotch shot to a client needing dating advice.
Yeah, that was in there. And the author comparing her to Amy Poehler's character in Mean Girls, the cool mom, but on speed.
Yikes. Paints quite a picture. And there were personal anecdotes shared, too.
A couple stood out. One person claimed to know her personally.
What did they say?
Called her an asshole, basically. Said she was gross and weird about being the center of attention. And told a story about Robbins seemingly using her young daughter's vocabulary to impress other parents, like for external validation.
Huh. Okay. And the other anecdote about the school incident.
Right. After a tragic community suicide, Robbins apparently tried to organize a listening session for grieving students in the school auditorium.
Okay. Sounds potentially helpful.
But the school rejected it. According to the Redditor, the reasoning was blunt. She's not a therapist. And the feeling was she was maybe trying to make it all about her, rather than letting trained professionals handle a deeply sensitive situation.
That really highlights the qualification issue again, doesn't it?
Huh.
The line between wanting to help and having the actual training and credentials, especially for trauma or grief.
Absolutely. It's that blurred line, motivation versus therapy, coaching versus counseling. A charismatic speaker can be powerful, but without proper training. Missteps are easy, especially with vulnerable populations. Using techniques like motivational interviewing without formal training can go wrong.
And then there's the whole grifter accusation. That came up a lot.
Repeatedly, people calling her a grifter, a hustler, suggesting it's primarily about making money.
And the incident involving Day Hollis's death, that seemed particularly sensitive.
Extremely. The accusation was that she used his death, his eulogy, as content, posting photos, promoting her podcast around it.
That feels really uncomfortable, if true.
And then apparently later she claimed she forgot he had died, which just added to the criticism.
Wow. Okay, but we should present the other side too. Not everyone dislikes her.
Not at all. We have to remember she is incredibly popular, as some users pointed out. Millions like her for a reason.
What reasons did they give?
Some find her directness refreshing. They feel her simple tools do work for them. They cut through the jargon.
And the repackaging argument.
Some defended that, saying repackaging ideas is common in many fields, not just self-help. It's about making concepts accessible.
And some just find her relatable.
Yeah, precisely because she talks about real-world problems in that straightforward, no-nonsense style. It connects with people.
So it's this real tension, isn't it, between how authentic she seems to people and her massive commercial success, alongside all these criticisms about her methods, her backstory, her qualifications.
Exactly. And it forces us, the listeners, the consumers of this content, to be discerning, to think about who we're listening to, what their background is, what their motivations might be.
Okay, so wrapping this up, we've definitely been on a deep dive here. Pretty fascinating, sometimes a bit unsettling, looking at Mel Robbins.
For sure. From things like the 5-second rule, which is everywhere, and the high five habit, which clearly gave at least one person a real lifeline.
Yeah, a starting point for healing, which is significant.
All the way to the let them theory, which is just mired in controversy, and all those questions about her personal story, the inconsistencies.
Lots of layers. It really shows how one person, one voice, can mean totally different things to different people.
Hope and practical tools for some.
And huge red flags about originality, depth, maybe even authenticity for others.
And maybe the biggest takeaway here is just how important critical thinking is when we engage with any self-help or motivational content.
Absolutely. What works wonders for your friend might do nothing for you or even feel off.
Right.
Yeah.
Which leads us to that final thought to leave you with.
Yeah.
In this world just flooded with advice, with gurus and guides all telling you how to live, what actually makes a piece of wisdom feel original or truly valuable for you?
Good question.
And maybe more importantly, how do you figure that out for yourself when you're navigating these conflicting stories, these shifting narratives, and let's be honest, the blurry line between genuine guidance and a really slick sales pitch?
Yeah. How do you find the signal in all that noise?
Yeah.
Something definitely worth thinking about.